build our influencer team.
So, power companies are facing or being forced to confront a new paradigm in how they manage power. And from our standpoint, that creates an opportunity for some new thinking. To understand this, you have to consider that traditionally, power companies, utilities, have managed power with large centralized power generation resources that they carefully manage, and they distributed it using a grid. And this has worked for years. What's changing this, particularly in urban areas, is the arrival of privately owned renewable resources, power generation resources. What this does, from the standpoint of power companies, is transform urban areas into distributed pools of independently varying small lumps of excess capacity. The traditional mechanism of the grid is a poor way to manage this. It's brittle, it's lossy, it's non-adaptive. So this creates a need for a different way to think about the problem. And what motivates our approach to this is something we call the industrial Internet of moving things. It's a concept that adds a new wrinkle to how you try to address traditional problems. So let me just say a little bit about what we mean by that. The goal of this notion is to produce a platform for moving things that makes them operate together as a combined resource, as a team. So how does this apply to this problem? Well, if you think about this distributed set of resources, one possibility is that you send these little bits of capacity out onto the grid to find a load to consume them. As we said, that's a poor solution. What if instead you think about moving things, you think about moving the load to where the capacity is? Turn the problem around a little bit. So how do you do that? Well, we're told that in a few years, urban areas will become host to fleets of autonomous electric vehicles roving around, periodically needing to recharge. What is a roving electric vehicle that needs a charge other than a mobile load? So what if you could predict where the capacity will be, and then direct this resource, direct the resource to the load. That's the essence of our idea. We want to create a mechanism for harnessing a different kind of resource to solve this problem. So what we can do now is to show you a little bit about how we did that in the 2 days we had available.
So the things are moving, and I will also move a little bit. You can see here on the map, the cylinder represents the amount of energy that is exceeded at some location. Given this information, we can have two heat maps. The first heat map shows the current. It's a heat map that shows how much it will cost you if you were charging your car now. This represents the amount, the price represents the amount of exceeded energy. As there is more energy, the price is lower. But this is not enough. We would like, in order to make a car move to where they need to charge, we need to have the energy in 2 hours ahead, or maybe 4 hours, or even 24 hours ahead, know where the energy will be, and plan upfront how can we optimize our route to send the car to where there is an energy. And from the operator's standpoint, it's that simple. You just press a button, and it tells you where the energy is. With that, let's go back to the presentation. As you probably noticed, I'm Israeli, so we will start from right to left. At the right, you can see the energy, the resources that we use. In order to make such a seemingly simple application, we need all the data sources that you can gather. We have geographical data from ESRO. We have weather data. And we have the historical data that is gathered by Predix machine and goes into historical data. The historical data allows us to train the model. And once the model is trained, you can use it for predicting the future. And this is the heart of the applications that we developed. We used Predix analytics to create a mechanism that knows, based on real-time data, what will be the energy net capacity at a given location. So we created for each block, for each location, we created a model. And with this model, you can see the services in the blue rectangle. We could predict the capacity. This goes into an engine that creates the data for each location and consumed by the application and given to the operator of the cars. Now, let me ask you a question. So this is a bunch of services that we used on Predix. What is missing here? Asset. It's close. Any other answer? So let's take what was said here, and the thing that is missing is information. So what we need to have in the Predix, and we will have it in the future, is an information layer that provides you the context to operate your assets. Thank you for listening, and I would like you to go out from this presentation with the notion that Predix is not only for static assets, but also for moving assets. And incorporating the movement of the assets into the system allows you and opens you a whole lot of optimization opportunity to do with it. Thank you.